Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming podcast. Today is the 26th of February 2018. My name is Kralizec. I will be one of your hosts for the evening. I'd like to welcome my second host, Tygergamer. Hey Tiger, how are you doing?
Great, how about you?
I'm doing really well. How has your week been?
Good. Got to do some more traveling. Got to go to another Steam meetup in Austin, Texas. So that was fun.
Oh, that's nice. Hope you spread the word about our podcast.
Sure did.
Yeah, that's good. So, let's start talking about video games.
All right.
Okay, tell me, did you get to play anything interesting this week?
Well, I got to play. I played a few hours of Metal Gear Survive. So.
Yeah, Metal Gear Survive, the controversial Metal Gear.
Yeah.
First, before we get into the controversy, tell me, what about the game itself? Is it good?
Yeah, it's somewhat decent. It's just your typical survival game where you build up your base, gain resources, and all that. Pretty much your typical survival game. So.
And in comparison to others, do you think it's better, worse?
I would say this one right here. I would say I've played all the Metal Gear games, so I would say this is worse.
Okay, that's probably not a good thing. In what way is it worse?
Well, for one thing, like you got to manage your hunger and thirst, and your character keeps on like. If you like have your hunger like 100% and your thirst 100%, only takes 5 minutes for that thing to get it back down to 20%.
Okay, that's actually a fairly like hardcore mode, I guess.
Yeah, but still though, having to like feed your character and make sure that they have enough hydration. Using other stuff.
That is actually, I know, that's fairly common in survival games that you have to manage. You know.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying though, in other survival games, like Subnautica, for instance, it doesn't take as short of a time to get dehydrated and hungry as it does in Metal Gear Survive.
So you think 5 minutes isn't enough? What time would you prefer?
I don't know. Anything longer than that. But I will say on the plus side though, if you die, your hunger and thirst gets reset. So.
Well, that would be pretty bad if it didn't.
Yeah.
Especially like imagine dying from hunger and thirst and then just respawning hungry and dying immediately again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this game is trying to copy off of Metal Gear Solid 3. Because in that game also, you don't have to like manage your thirst, but you did have to eat something every once in a while just to keep your stamina, your energy up.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But
it didn't take as long to deplete as it does in Survive, so.
So what you're essentially saying is there are better Metal Gear games and there are better survival games.
Yes.
That probably leaves a fairly small niche of players for it, that people who want a survival game set in the Metal Gear universe.
Yeah.
Do you think it will be a success in a long term?
No. I will say this. I will say this. One thing that kind of interested me at first was the story.
Okay.
Which has a pretty interesting premise to it.
Okay. Well, do you want to go into spoilers or not?
Well, like I said, I only played like the first 3 hours of it, so I'm not really that far into the story.
Okay, then I guess like I'll leave it up to you if you want spoiled first few hours.
Pretty much you're just you're infected with with this parasite that's from this other dimension called Dite.
Mm-hmm.
and you gotta go back. You're sent there on a mission to retrieve this energy called Kuban energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much. But there's a lot more to it. But I'll just leave it at that.
You know, I don't think many of survival games or survival gamists, you know, the people who play them, care that much about the story. They usually care about the world and what they can do with the world than the story, I think. Like, I remember in Conan Exiles, that's pretty much the only survival game I played. I didn't play it for the story. I played it because the Conan universe seems like a really good fit for a survival game. But I didn't give a shit about the story, to be honest. I was just like, yeah, I like to build a house. The house is pretty.
Yeah. But like in terms of like and if like you're a fan of Metal Gear, sure the story might get you through like the first few hours. Back to that, it just becomes a piece of crap.
Yeah. But let's move on to the controversy. And there is actually a lot of controversy to tell us about it.
Well, first off, if you want to have another character slot, they charge you $10 for an extra save slot.
Yeah, I'd say that's the big controversy. You know, like, but you know the thing is, there have been plenty of games that have like a feature where if you want to have more characters, you have to pay.
Yeah, I know.
But usually they give you more than one. That's also true.
Yeah, like I'll say this. I think the one big thing that Konami screwed up on was actually charging a price for it. If this was like just a free to play game, I think a lot of people wouldn't be so angry about this, because in quite a few free to play games, you actually have to pay extra for extra character slots.
Yeah, that's essentially my problem with it. It's the fact that it's a already paid to play game, but then it has like too many microtransactions for my own personal taste. But for example, when I look at Steam and I look at the number of reviews, it tells me that 70% of the user reviews are positive. But another thing is that the three highest rated are also saying that it's not recommended.
Yeah.
But only one of them is like a big one saying stuff. The rest, the two other ones are like, yeah, just don't play this, or thank God for the Steam refunds. Isn't that's what Trucker XXX says? But also another thing is, only the person who's like the top reviewer for this and who actually has like a decent amount of information about it, he's the only one who has a decent number of hours in the game. He has like 31 hours. That's what I would say. That's why I would say fine. For example, the one who says thank God for the Steam refund system, he has 0.3 hours on the game. But that's also understandable, since if you play more than 2 hours of the game, Steam will not refund the game for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I just go into... I want to show only negative reviews. Yeah, so... yeah, most people are just, like, saying that the fact that microtransactions are bad and the paid save slots are just shit. So that's the majority of complaints in the not recommended. They don't usually like complain about a game itself, to be honest.
Yeah.
So probably the game is good, but why the fuck would you put so much microtransactions in it? Well, I understand why. Because money. But
yeah.
I know. It just seems sort of crappy. Like, I understand the publishers and developers are in the business to make money, to make a living.
Yeah.
But I also honestly feel that in the long term, it will hurt them more to just create these bullshitty microtransaction systems than to make decent microtransaction systems.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say this. I don't know if you heard about this, but also in Metal Gear Survive, a Konami employee actually put a hidden message during the first cutscene of the game.
Yeah, I heard something about it. I haven't read that much into it. What was the message say?
Pretty much, you have to put the pieces together, but pretty much it says, from Vengeful Mosquito, Kojima Productions Forever, to, I think it was Bastard, Kota, and Kunin Yuji.
Yeah, I'll try to find exact one. Survive secret message. Okay. Yeah, I don't want any video to play. Yeah, some, but that's not. That's someone. Please give me the actual message. So yeah, it says Kojima Productions Forever.
Yeah,
that's what I see, but nothing else. Yeah, it's just like weird. Yeah. The fun thing that was like controversial for me was the fact that in the EULA, in the license agreement, there's a stipulation that you cannot date people who you meet in the game.
Oh yeah,
What the fuck? Well, who came up with that? Was that some lonely nerd who came up with that? It's like, I can't meet people in my games. Nobody else will.
Possibly.
Otherwise, I have no fucking idea how that got into it. Seriously. So, I only got to play one single game this week, to be honest. I wasn't home. I was at my parents' place since my mother got someone hurt. So I only got to play this game called Bad News. Interestingly enough, the first time I heard about it was when I was doing a little bit of like research for the science blog I also do. Because the game isn't created by any traditional publisher or developer, it's created by the University of Cambridge. And the game is really simple. If you want to try it, it takes about 15 minutes to play. Just go to getbadnews.com and it will straight upload the game. It's a browser game. And it's a game about you becoming a fake news creator.
Huh.
And I gotta say, I think it's actually really well done. So the game actually teaches you about a few basic, let's call them tactics, people who create fake news employ to achieve their goals. You know, things like how trolling actually works, how taking a story that's about nothing and blowing it out of proportions works, etc. The thing I like about it is that it purposely tries to be apolitical, the game. You know, at the very beginning, you can choose whether you want to be like left-leaning or right-leaning fake news morgul, I guess. I think that's actually a good way to do it because, well, people who are right-leaning, they think fake news is majorly produced by the left wing. And people who are left wing, well, they think it's majorly produced by the right wing people. To be honest, both groups do it equally.
Yeah, both. Yep.
But what was interesting, because I actually read this study about the game, almost every single kid which has played this game has become better at actually spotting fake news.
Good for them.
Yeah, I'm just sort of sad the game is right now only in English, as it needs to be translated to every single language within like 2 days and given to every single high school student out there.
Yes.
Because this is what we need. We don't need games that yell at you because you're not at the same political spectrum as the creators of the game. What we need are games that teach you how to think. This is exactly the way it should be done. Great game. Would recommend to anybody. Go play right now. There's going to be a review for it certainly this week. It's going to be probably a free-form review, as I said, the game takes about 10-15 minutes to actually finish. So I'll sort of do like a let's play / review, just playing it and talking about it at the same time.
Okay.
But again, if you want to go and play right now, it's just getbadnews.com. It will straight upload the game. You can even play it on your cell phone. You don't even need to go like on your computer. It works on your cell phone perfectly fine. So,
okay.
If you're looking for something, if you're going to have a bad shit today, load it up and play it while you're shitting. Do something useful while you're shitting. Learn something useful for once, instead of just looking at stupid ass memes.
That's right.
Okay, you got to play anything else this week other than Metal Gear Survive?
Yes, I got to play 2 more games. Well, the next one isn't really a game. It's more like a update to a game. I got to try out the Discovery mode on Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh, okay. I've heard some complaints about it, but I don't understand why, to be honest.
What complaints have you heard?
Like, that it's taking away from the game and it's catering to casuals?
No. I do not see that at all.
Yeah, it takes away the combat, etc., but it's like a completely different game mode. It's not like making shit easier.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, shoot, you give an option either going to start the game or going to Discovery mode. And, it doesn't take away from the actual game.
Yeah, I just don't understand those complaints. They seem completely baseless.
Yeah. But, anyways, from what I've played of Discovery mode so far, I think from now on, whenever Ubisoft makes a new Assassin's Creed game, this needs to be in the game day one, if possible.
You know, I would even go a step further. If you have any game, just have this mode in it.
Yeah. If it's based like on history, have this mode. Like one game that comes to mind right now, it'd be cool if like Kingdom Come Deliverance had that kind of mode on there. Yeah,
exactly, and not even like I think it would be super nice if like they took it. Maybe what's the opposite of taking it one step further, like one step back, and just give you a mode where you can just wander around, even without like people telling you the history, but just for making screenshots, for example, just make super cool looking backgrounds.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't do it in the game because you're in the middle of combat and you just can't get there to make that super epic screenshot because there's like a huge ass monster there and it's gonna kill you.
Or that's why they have a photo mode. You can just like pause the game and take the camera wherever you need to go and take a picture of that way.
Yeah, just have that. I don't understand why that isn't in every single game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I can, like, say, okay, it's not in your little tiny indie game because you just didn't have the resources to do it. But any AAA game that is also proud of its stunning graphics should have this included.
Yes, I agree.
So, what was the other one that you got to play this week?
I played this game called Past Here.
Okay, I don't think I know that one. What is it about?
Pretty much you play as a former soldier who lost I think like 3 years of his life.
You mean like he has amnesia?
Yes, but also he also in that period of time he also gained some abilities like astral projection. He can slow down time and all that. It's pretty much just like it's a third-person shooter with all these different mechanics in it.
And is it any good?
I'd say it's below average.
Man, your gaming choices were not good this week, were they?
No, not really. Besides the Assassin's Creed Origins Discovery mode. But yeah.
Yeah, but it is important to talk about bad games as well.
Yeah.
So not a recommendation from you.
No, unless you just want to play something that's a little different, not too much different.
What things would you say make it below average?
Well, for one thing, the voice acting in the game, like it sounds like none of these people had none of them were actual voice actors. Like they had no experience doing it.
Okay. But I mean, like mechanics wise.
Well, for one thing, like the astral projection, you can only do like certain stuff, like sell with cameras and switches.
Yeah.
But only on one instance, like a quick time event, you're given the chance to use your astral projection to take over this guy's mind, but you only do that one time and that's it.
Oh, so the mechanics are underused.
Yes.
Oh, that sucks. When they have cool mechanics and don't actually use them, that sucks a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that was the last thing you got to play this week?
Yes.
Yeah, as I said, I didn't get to play anything else other than the bad news, so I guess it's time for us to switch to the news.
Yep.
So let's start with the really shitty stuff. So another swatting incident took place last week. This time, its victim was a 12-year-old kid. Luckily, nobody got hurt this time. Let's start with that. That's pretty important information. The guy who got swatted was a Fortnite streamer named Peter Verratti. He's also known as Raleigh Ranchers. And his YouTube channel pretty much blew up last couple weeks. He spiked from about 1,000 subscribers to over 120,000 thanks to being... So he got endorsed by Scissors, a popular YouTuber. So that helped him grow quite quickly. And the fact that he was 12 probably helped as well. I will admit that. And well, one of his new subscribers had this brilliant idea to pull a prank on him. And he couldn't come up with anything better than to send the police to his place. What happened precisely is that during one of his streams, this guy, I don't think there's actually the name of the guy. Oh no, yeah, there's no name of the guy who called yet. Decided to call the police and say that him and his mother were going to hang themselves. So obviously the police came, you know, knocked on the door, then they raided the place. Luckily nobody was hurt, not Verratti, not his mother, anyone. But obviously that's a pretty scary thing when just police comes gun blazing into your house.
Yes. I'll say this. When it comes to swatting, especially over here in the U.S., people that do that kind of crap, they need to be punished for doing so, because they're pretty much falsifying a call to the police, saying that there's someone else, and calling it like fake threats.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I will say this: I still don't understand how this is a fucking thing in our community.
Yeah.
Stop being idiots. Don't do this. If you ever hear anybody even contemplating this, punch him in the face. Please, do it. Literally. Just take your fist and push it straight against their face very rapidly.
Yes.
And you can even tell the police that I made you do it. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that.
Yep. Same here.
So, let's move on from this sad thing to something that is maybe equally as sad, but at least somewhat hilarious. So Donald Trump has decided that he would comment on video game violence. This is sort of a follow-up on a story we did last week about a Kentucky governor, Matt Bevin, who thought that video games, especially violent ones, are somewhat responsible for mass shootings. Well, and obviously Trump couldn't let this opportunity go, and he had to comment as well. Let me quote his whole thing that he said during a meeting. We have to look at the internet because a lot of bad things are happening to young kids and young minds, and their minds are being formed. And we have to do something about maybe what they're seeing and how they're seeing it. And also video games. I'm hearing more and more people say the level of violence on video games is really shaping young people's thoughts. And you go one step further, and that's the movies. You see these movies and they're so violent. The kid is able to see the movie if sex isn't involved, but killing is involved. And maybe we need to put a rating system for that. So, what do you think of this? I'll leave my comment for a later time.
Well, I'll say this, and also I'm going to say this about the other piece of news we got on here as well. Is they're trying to push their agenda even further, trying to censor what people can watch or listen to.
Okay, I'm going to take this from a little bit of a different angle. I'm going to say this. There have been plenty of studies that have conclusively shown that video game violence doesn't cause real world violence. It's pretty much been the contrary. If you're being violent in a video game, it decreases your aggression in the real world. And it's a pretty obvious thing.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I speak from experience.
It's like the most obvious thing, you know? You get a place to vent your emotion.
Yep. Yep, I agree.
It's literally, think of, like, let's say a first-person shooter. Think of it as a punching bag.
Yes.
I will agree with one thing with Trump. It is super dumb that you, especially in America, you aren't allowed to see a movie where there's sex, but you are allowed to see a movie where there's a body being dissected.
Yeah, now that, I can see it. I agree with that too.
Either have it that you cannot see either of these, or that you can see both. Because having one and the other and not the other seems somewhat strange.
Yeah.
And another political figure has decided to weigh in on violent video games this week. This time it was Robert Nardolillo, the name is horrible, who is from Rhode Island, and he's also a Republican. He proposed a special tax on violent video games. So I know you are probably slightly more inclined to vote for the Republicans. So what do you think of this?
Actually, I'm gonna say this right now. I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. I just vote on who I think might do the right thing. So.
But I would probably correct if I say that on average you would be more inclined to agree with the majority of the Republican message rather than the Democratic one.
Yeah, most of the time.
So what do you think of his statement for a special tax on violent video games?
I would say get that crap out of there.
You know, my problem isn't even with the tax itself, like the proposal for it. It's actually where it's coming from. I would 100% understand if there was a Democrat proposing this sort of tax. Because it would be 100% in line with his ideology. But Republican, as far as I understand, conservatism, at least in its current form in America, is mostly about reducing the taxes, keeping everything as free in the sense individualistic as possible, and a tax on a specific product doesn't seem to follow any of these two messages.
Nope.
So,
does not.
I'm actually okay with the idea for a tax on violent video games, especially if the tax would actually go towards projects like helping students deal with aggression or like mental help. That actually sounds like a decent idea.
Yeah. But I'll say this though. Me though, like, I'm a person that doesn't like the government sticking their hands in so many different places that do not belong there. And of course, gaming is one of them. I do not want my government in my games.
I'm more of a pragmatic on politics, so I understand there are points where the government probably does have its place. And sometimes,
but not all.
Yeah, obviously not all, but maybe saying that certain types of games shouldn't be played by certain age groups, I'm fine with that, for example. But I understand if somebody isn't, but you know, it's just a difference in opinion. But that's the thing, that's an opinion.
Yeah.
So one of the things he said is that there is evidence that children exposed to violent video games at a young age tend to act more aggressively than those who are not. Obviously, he didn't cite any of this evidence. Because where there is close to none. And the evidence that there is from very old studies, like conducted early in the 90s, and has been refuted since then many times, over and over and over again. But I do agree there probably is a point where you shouldn't buy, let's say, Postal 2 for your 6-year-old kid. But taxing it will not make you not give the kid the game. All it will do is like make the game more expensive. If anything, there should be like a punishment for exposing the kid to that sort of game. If anything, you know.
Yeah, and I'll also disagree with that because, like I've not played Postal 2, but I will say a game that I was exposed to at a young age was Grand Theft Auto 3.
Mm-hmm.
I played that one back when I was like 7 years old, and since then I played every GTA game that's come out since. And of course, I'm not a violent person.
Obviously. That's me who's the
Yeah,
violent person. I was the guy who played games like RPGs and those are the games, and I'm the violent person. So violent games are not the cause of this. It's
yeah,
it's who you are. Either you're aggressive or you're
yeah,
not. I've been actually
yeah,
watching a lot of like psychology lectures in the past weeks, and I think it's the exact opposite. You are either a violent person at the beginning or you're not. But if you are a violent
yeah,
person, there are ways to socialize you to be non-violent. But it is very
yeah.
hard to socialize somebody to be violent. Unless the whole society is set up in a way that violence is the norm, obviously.
Mhm.
There's a difference between making a person do bad things and being violent, by the way. You know, it's very easy to
Yeah,
make people do bad things, but it's much harder to, like, make them kick somebody's ass in a normal societal setting. Obviously it's a different thing in like war or something like that, but those aren't situations that hopefully will arise at any near future.
yeah,
So let's start slowly moving away from
yeah.
politics. There's
Yes.
one more topic that some people will try to politicize, as Twitch has announced a grant foundation to help female streamers. So the foundation is going to be called Broadcast Her Grant, and it's designed to support female content creators and raise awareness of the gender gap in funding for female-led content in the gaming and broadcast industry. So what this grant does is essentially, if you're a student in high school or college and you don't have much money, you can try to apply. And if you do qualify, you will get something between $500 and $2,000. And I'm completely fine with that.
Same here.
It's their platform. I would have a
Mhm.
different opinion if it was the government doing this.
Yeah.
But it's Twitch. It's their platform. If they want more females there, that's their thing. And they're paying for it, so that's their thing again. So who gives a shit? Good for any of the girls who get the grant.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not that much money, to be honest. A few things that should be mentioned. If you actually are a woman who would be interested in this grant, you should probably hurry, as there are two deadlines. One is on the May 1st, the other is on the October 1st. But if you want to get into the first one, you got about 2 months. And we all know how bureaucracy likes to be slow. So I'm going to guess it will take some time to actually get the grant, if you even qualify. It's supposed to help people with things like traveling to conventions, getting some hardware upgrades, or maybe like getting to a program that will learn to be better with, let's say, Premiere or something like that.
Yeah.
So good thing. I really like it.
Yeah. I do too.
And let's move away from the political stuff altogether.
Yes.
And take a look at Overwatch League, as Blizzard has finally released the Code of Conduct. If anybody doesn't know, Overwatch League is a league of Overwatch. I think the name is pretty self-explanatory. And I want to just mention a few points. So some of the points are pretty obvious and make total sense. You know, like don't use or attempt to use any bugs or exploits. That makes total fucking sense. Just play as everybody else plays. But some of the things that are in the code of conduct do seem overly general, in my opinion. And before I say them, I want to say this. I understand why they are so general, because if they weren't, people could do shit that would damage the Overwatch League, but it wasn't inside a code of conduct, so they couldn't be punished. That is the reason why it is so general, but I do not agree with it being so general. Especially with two specific things. So, first one is don't engage in an activity or practice that brings him or her into public disrepute or scandal. That's the thing. Almost anything can make a scandal happen around you. Even something that would not cause a scandal for someone else. Even more likely if you're a person who is somewhat famous, and Overwatch Pro players are generally somewhat famous. So saying one stupid word on stream could cause you a decent sum of money or potentially even your job. And the other one is don't engage in any form of harassment or discrimination. That is way too general. What exactly is considered harassment? What exactly is considered discrimination?
Yeah.
But the rest of the...
Yeah, that's too much broad of a topic right there. You know, they should have more specifics on what all this entails.
It would still probably be a somewhat general description of what harassment and discrimination is, but at least specified somewhat, because the word harassment can mean many different things in many different cultures. So let's say here in Czech Republic, people tend to be somewhat negative, and being so negative might be perceived as being a jerk in, let's say, America. And is being a jerk harassment? Who knows under these guidelines?
Yeah.
But the rest of the rules are honestly fine. Though not all of them, but mostly, like, compete to the best of their skill and ability at all times, essentially meaning don't throw matches. Don't place bets on any games, matches, or tournaments involving Overwatch, so you cannot essentially cheat by knowing, having insider information. You know, the rest is pretty decent.
Yeah.
So, let's move on. This one, I don't know how much you will be interested in this one, but it seems super interesting to me. So last week, Intel showcased their own GPU, a discrete GPU prototype. Well, at least that's what it seemed at first. It wasn't really a discrete GPU per se. It wasn't a... No, it was a discrete GPU, but the prototype was of a single piece of equipment on that GPU. It was about a system that regulates the speed of the clocks and how much power is being delivered to the chip. That was the thing that was actually being tested when they made this GPU. And the only reason why they made a GPU instead of a CPU is because it was simpler for them to design a GPU. But few things should also be mentioned. It's like 3 months since they got the person who was designing the chips in AMD and the graphical division of AMD, and he now works for Intel. And I'm going to guess that Intel actually does want to start trying to produce their own discrete GPUs. But the thing should be mentioned is the fact that it will certainly take, at the very least, a couple of years before we start seeing anything that could be even considered going to the market. More likely, I'm going to say a decade at the very least. Designing, testing, and making it production worthy is a long, long way for such a complex product as a computer chip is these days. But I would really love Intel to come on to the GPU market, as well, there are essentially two companies right now, and one of them doesn't even have really high-end products. As there's AMD, there's Nvidia, and AMD is ending their top product is the 64, and that's like an equivalent of a 1070, and there's like the 1080, 1080 Ti, and the Titan series that's still there for Nvidia. It's just unrivaled. So bringing more competition to the market is always a good thing.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I agree with you there.
So let's move on. And this one will certainly interest you, and I want to know what you think of this. So there's this company who is making a little bit of like money by creating DLC for Microsoft's Flight Simulator. And recently they made an A320X expansion, that's an airplane for the Flight Simulator X. And one person on Reddit noticed that the installer includes something that was called Chrome Password Dump, which by the name you can guess is a tool that can swipe your usernames and passwords that you have stored in your Chrome. So yeah, essentially there was a password stealing piece of malware inside this piece of DLC. Any thoughts?
I would say, what? So wait, this was an official piece of DLC.
It wasn't made by Microsoft, but it's a company who has been making DLC for their flight sims for a pretty long time. And you can buy them. You buy them with money. It's not like they're free.
Well, I think what they've done here, putting a malware file and a piece of DLC, I think that is really, really, really scummy.
So they actually had an excuse why they're doing it. They said it's part of their DRM scheme.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Interestingly, there was actually a person who reported that some funds mysteriously vanished from his account right after he purchased this DLC. I want to say this wasn't confirmed at this point, so it just might be his claim.
Yeah.
But even if that didn't happen, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, really.
What were you thinking? This completely destroyed this company's public image, obviously, as it rightfully should have. And I'll say one positive thing. They have removed that piece of malware from the DLC now, and to anybody who purchased it, they're giving a free new release without the malware. So there's at the very least this. But still, why the fuck would you do this? I just
Yeah, really.
I don't get it. It seems super dumb, super idiotic, and pretty obvious that it will blow up in a completely negative way on your company. It just, I don't get it.
I don't either.
So let's move on from some dumbassery into more dumbassery to a degree. So there was a research done by a discussion platform called QT, and they had a survey where they got in total 1,862 comments and 10,457 votes. And the question is, what do you think about cosmetic microtransactions? So let me first give you the options and tell me which option would you vote for. So the first option was cosmetic only is okay. Second one was dislike paid to win. Next there was I am a fan of microtransactions. Then there was I'd rather pay up front. And last is I don't purchase microtransactions.
In all honesty, when it comes to like, especially like if you like pay for the game, you purchase the game, you pay for it, and then it has microtransactions in it. Pretty much most of the time, I just stay away from the microtransactions. I don't even purchase them.
So you would have gone with I don't purchase them.
Yeah.
So you're in the same boat as 5.8% of the respondents. I personally would say probably I dislike pay to win because from these options. But 68.6% of respondents said that cosmetic only is okay. And I can see where they're coming from, but my problem with this is the question is how are they implemented? And sadly, this particular research didn't go that far into the topic, so we don't know. And obviously with what we saw in the past few months in terms of microtransactions, hopefully developers will not be as shitty with their behavior as they used to be, or as they are currently.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, as far as my point still is, I fucking hope there isn't enough. There isn't any loot boxes in the future.
Yeah.
But if you do want loot boxes, there's a service now called Gamma Now that allows you to mine loot boxes the same way you mine cryptocurrency. More specifically, what they do is you essentially rent them your computer for the time you're not using it. For that, you get some points on their service, and for these points you can buy loot boxes. It's pretty similar to NiceHash, if anybody does know that service. But instead of getting Bitcoin, you are getting points for which you can buy loot boxes. At the moment, you can buy loot boxes for Overwatch, you can buy Hearthstone card packs, you can buy Riot points, which are used in, for example, League of Legends. And there's going to be some more games that will be supported in the future that they're claiming, like Counter-Strike Global Offensive or Dota 2. And right now, if you gather 30,000 Gamma points, you will be able to buy 24 loot boxes in Overwatch, or 3,500 Riot points, or 15 Hearthstone card packs. And currently there is not enough information to know how long it actually takes to mine 30,000 of these Gamma points. But in general, what do you think of the service?
I think that's actually a good idea. You know, like me in the near future, like right now we're using Steam and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I see in the near future, like especially like in games, like I know a lot of people don't like microtransactions like I do,
Mm-hmm.
but I can actually see like game companies actually reward you for more time that you spend either in the game or not playing the game.
Mm-hmm. You
Like
know what
what
was
they're doing.
my idea when I saw this? Imagine if a company would pay you for again the usage of your computer as a server when you're not using the computer. Like so you could run a local server for the people who are playing in your area. So let's say you would be playing Hearthstone, as that's a pretty simple game. And you could
Yeah.
provide a node so the people who are playing it could get faster latencies, etc. And you would be getting paid in probably some in-game currency for doing that.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my idea. But yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty nice.
Yeah. It does.
I like the service. It's an interesting way to use your computer when you're not using it. Though the big question, as always, is will it be worth it? Because people often forget to calculate the price of electricity in their calculations when they're doing stuff like this. If it let's say it takes you $40 worth of electricity to mine loot boxes that would be worth $10, maybe you would be better off saving the $30 than just buying the loot boxes straight up.
Yeah.
Maybe. Perhaps. So let's go to our last piece of news for today. This one is hilarious. So there's a Fortnite player named Jilly Zeus, and she managed to convince her chemistry teacher, if she manages to get 6,700 retweets on her tweet, that the next exam will be about Fortnite instead of chemistry.
Wow.
The tweet itself was a picture of her and the teacher shaking hands with the whiteboard behind them saying, if this reaches as many retweets, the next exam will be about Fortnite. So guess how many retweets does it have right now?
I would say over 100,000, maybe.
Nah, you're too. What's the word I'm looking for? Too naive.
Far.
It has 29,799 retweets at this moment, but that's still substantially more than 6.7 thousand. And yeah, it's hilarious. Will you try to do something like this in school?
No. And I'm curious to see if they do reach the number.
Oh, they did.
I wonder. Oh, they did. Okay.
They already did.
Well, then I'm curious to see what the exam would be about on Fortnite.
I really hope. So first of all, I hope the teacher does actually honor the agreement.
Yeah.
Because obviously this isn't a legal contract, and he can just say, "Piss off! It was just a joke." You still have to do a real chemistry test. But if he does honor his agreement, and I really hope he does, yeah, I do really want to see the test. I hope it gets online.
Yes. That'd be awesome.
Do you think you could pass that chemistry class? Do you know enough about Fortnite Battle Royale?
Yeah, I know a decent amount.
You know, I think the teacher will be a jerk, if he honors the agreement, he will be a jerk and he will put questions in like, what is the average DPS of a silenced pistol of uncommon quality? And don't tell me you know those numbers. You don't. You don't know those numbers.
I don't. But I will say this though. In order for the teacher to answer those kind of questions, he would actually have to have played Battle Royale himself.
Well, not necessarily. You can just research the numbers online, or just play it like 5 times and write down the numbers. You know, the ones you need.
Yeah.
It would take him like 2-3 hours to do it. So I think for him it would actually be less work than creating a regular exam, unless he's using the same one over and over and over again. But yeah, it's just hilarious, and
yeah, it is.
on one hand, I love it. On the other hand, it is sort of dumb.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, because it is school, it is a real test, and probably there should be some actual questions about chemistry when you're trying to finish a chemistry class.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say this. Who would have thought that Fortnite Battle Royale would become just as popular as PUBG?
Oh, it's more popular right now, but
I know.
I think it was. I think that it was like fairly obvious when it went free. It just made sense that it would be more successful.
Yeah.
So that's it for the news section of the podcast. Do you have anything you would like to add towards the news?
No.
Then let's move on to the last section and let's do some recommendations for games. So, do you have anything you would like to recommend for next week?
Well, this week I'm gonna the Portal Bridge Crew is coming out for consoles, so I'm gonna give that a try, see how it is on consoles. So.
Yeah, well, I wonder how playable will it be with a gamepad.
Yeah.
The precision that you sometimes need there, especially in the later levels.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that on a gamepad.
Yeah.
So, I got another game to recommend. This one is called One Deck Dungeon. And this game is essentially a roguelite that is like card games. It's like Slay the Spire. It's somewhat similar to the game I reviewed like 2 weeks ago called it was like Card Crawl or something like that. But this one seems like a bigger version of it. Like a more complex version. There are a few heroes you can run in, there are a few different challenges you have to do. And it does seem pretty decent, though the graphical style isn't really my thing. I'm still going to try it. It does seem like my sort of thing. I do like roguelites. I do like card games, and the combination of both of them sounds pretty amazing. It's going to come out on the 27th. So tomorrow, it says right now in approximately 23 hours. What else would you like to recommend?
Next time I'd like to recommend a space shooter called, I think it's called Rift Star Raiders.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us about it.
From what I know, it's like physics based. It's you actually have to use like if like maneuvering around the asteroid field. Actually feels like actually trying to get around an asteroid field. So.
And it's coming to both PC and consoles, right?
Yes.
And as far as I see, it's coming out on the 28th. Okay, I got one more game to recommend, and this one is called Apocalypsis. And this is a point-and-click adventure, very old school, The author claims it is inspired by games like Samorost or the Machinarium, which are both amazing indie games.
Yeah.
It's completely hand-drawn, and I fucking love the style. It looks like it was drawn, let's say, in the 15th century. And it looks fucking amazing. It's created by a Polish guy, which, well, you wouldn't notice it from the Steam page of the game, but when I went to email him for the possibility of getting a review code, I noticed that, yeah, his name is Polish. He's a Pole. And it looks freaking awesome. It has narration by a guy called Nurgle, who's from the Behemoth band and has an amazing voice. They also use their music, so it should have pretty awesome music. The art style looks freaking amazing. And it should be a story-rich game about heartbreak, redemption, and the end of the world. So I'm going to guess it's about the plague or something like that. Possibly. And it's coming out tomorrow. So yeah, I'm definitely going to get this one, play it, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay.
Anything else you got to recommend?
Yeah, also this week I'm going to give Immortal Redneck a try. It's coming to console, so it's my first time giving that game a try.
And I can endorse it as well. I have already reviewed that, and while it does have its problems, what game doesn't, it is a pretty good roguelike shooter, and to be honest, not so many roguelike shooters are that fun. Yeah. Though, honestly, I would still prefer to play Ziggurat to Immortal Redneck.
Okay.
Anything else you got to recommend?
Nope.
Me neither.
How about you?
Me neither. Okay. So I guess it's time to bring the podcast to an end. Do you want to commence with the shilling, or shall I?
I'll go first.
Okay.
You can find me as Tygergamer on YouTube and at Tygergamer on Steam It.
And you can find me as Kralizec at Steam It and as Kralizec Gaming on YouTube. You can see both our names right under the video. And there are also some links to our personal channels. So with that being said, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be so considerate and give this video a like here on YouTube and subscribe to not only this channel, but also our personal channels. Be sure to leave some comments, as there are plenty of topics to comment on.
Yes.
I think the most hilarious one is the exam. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it for today, guys. So see you guys later with more gaming content.
Have a good one.